This is the Sony 16 to 35 Carl Zeiss f.4 lens. This lens is 8 years old, and in the UK it costs about £1,200, probably about $1,200. Why on earth would I be recommending for the brand new Sony ZV-E1 in 2023? So we're going to do a few tests with this lens today, but why on earth am I recommending this quite expensive, new, and I say new, quite reasonably heavy but fairly compact, it's fairly small, lens for a brand new ZV-E1? It doesn't really make sense, does it? Particularly as Sony have just released exactly the same focal length, exactly the same aperture, but a lot lighter lens, very slightly smaller, but with a power zoom as well for about the same price. New. I keep saying new, notice that. So why on earth would I be recommending this lens? So what we're going to do today is, you can see, ready to go out on the bike. It's meant to be sunny. BBC are telling me it's sunny, no sign of it yet, but I can actually see some blue sky, so hopefully it will be. So we're going to go out on the bike and take some footage, maybe a few photos as well with this lens. And I'm going to show you why I think this is the best lens any new Sony ZV-E1 owner should buy if they're like a sort of out and about vlogging lens, which also can do portraits, and it's really good for internal shots as well because it's an ultra wide. So let's take it out on the bike, let's see what we think, and then we'll give our conclusions at the end. I'll also do some stabilization tests with it, because one thing Sony ZV-E1 and any Sony camera owner should know, that this internal IBIS on the Sony cameras works definitely better with Sony lenses. Now, this one is actually internally stabilized, this lens. On the newer Sony cameras, I don't think that makes much of a difference. On the older ones, if you go back to an A7 III, for example, it will make a difference, but on the newer Sony cameras, I don't think the internal stabilization on this will make much of a difference, but the fact that it is a Sony lens definitely makes a difference on the stabilization. So if you're wanting to sort of go gimbal free, maybe use the dynamic active stabilization in the ZV-E1, then it's definitely worthwhile thinking about paying the premium for a Sony lens, because you will get better results. So enough of me whittering on, let's get out on the bike, let's take some video, and then I'll do some stabilization tests in the garden and give you my conclusions and why I think this is the lens you should seriously be considering in 2023. Right, what I'm going to do now, hopefully I'm in frame because I can only get 28mm on this Tamron lens that I'm filming on at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a test of stabilisation to show you the difference between a Tamron lens or any non-Sony lens and the Sony lens. So let's have a look. So I've got this on, I'm just going to use active and then dynamic active stabilisation. So this is on active at the moment. So the walk forward test, just walking normally. This is a Tamron, remember. And then we'll do the like vlogging test. As I say, this is 28, so I'm holding this out. This is 10% crop at active still the Tamron. So this is the Sony at 28mm. This is just active stabilisation at 28 on the Sony. Can you see a difference? This is f.4. Background won't be quite as blurred, but does it make much of a difference? Let's hold it properly. How's that look? Just do one more walk because I wasn't holding it that well. Better than the Tamron, do you think, on the stabilisation? Let's try forwards. So this is forwards. Is that better than the Tamron? I think they are. I'd be surprised if it isn't, but I'd be interested to watch it back. Because I think Sony makes quite a difference. Remember, this camera has the OSS in the lens, although on the ZVE one, newer Sony cameras, I don't think it makes that much difference. So let's try it on dynamic active. And you wouldn't use this lens usually with dynamic active, but this is dynamic active on. Again, it's still on 28mm on the Tamron. So this is dynamic active. It's a bit tight on the 28. And this is dynamic active facing forward, 28. Tamron lens. Just walking normally, I'm not attempting to sort of particularly ninja walk or anything. Right, let's try the Sony on it now. Again, you wouldn't use a lens of 28mm for dynamic active really on this, so you can just about fit your head in. So how's that look compared to the Tamron? Good. %30 crop on that, remember, to get dynamic active. But it is a gimbal like, I think, particularly with a Sony lens. Less of those quick judders, I think. but I need to watch it back. So let's do a bit of forward walking. Again, just walking normally, not sort of walking ninja. Stabilisation's fantastic. It should be. So, great day out on the bike. What are the conclusions? I think this lens is amazing. The stabilisation on it is really good. As I say, I don't think the OSS actually makes that much of a difference. It's more of it's a Sony lens on the newer cameras. If you've got an older A7 III, it makes a huge difference actually, the OSS in this. So that's something to bear in mind, but you're not going to get any better stabilisation on the ZV-E1 than you are with this lens. I nearly, for example, bought the Tamron super wide zoom. I'm shooting this currently on the Tamron 28-75. Great lenses, but you do notice definitely they're more juddery on stabilisation, and so I wanted to stick with Sony. That meant really I only had two choices for the type of lens I wanted, because I didn't want to spend the money on a hugely expensive and heavy G-Master lens. So really I was going to either buy the new power zoom or I was going to buy this. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, you look at these two and you'd buy the power zoom every time. I would buy the power zoom. If you want to spend £1,200 or so on a new lens, or similar amount in dollars, I would see no reason to buy this over the power zoom new. So just making that clear. But second hand, I bought this copy second hand. It is, I haven't got product showcase on, so I'd have to cover my eyes out. See if I can cover my eyes up. So this lens is in extremely, the glass is perfect. This is second hand and the glass was perfect. I've got a filter on there. There is a slight marking here, very, very slight on the body, but it's in absolutely fabulous condition, this lens. I mean, really good. The glass is perfect, there's no dust in it or anything. This cost me £450. I bought this from Park Cameras in the UK, second hand. I think it was £450. And for that, this lens is a bargain, because what you're getting is you're getting a lens which is very versatile. It's a fantastic one lens to take out with you out and about like I've done today. It suits very different situations. You don't need a gimbal, as you can see on my footage which I took today and in the garden. Really the only downside to these lenses, but that keeps them small, because if this was an f2.5 it would probably be quite a bit bigger and heavier. The only downside is the f4, but the ZV-E1, the A7S III, these Sony cameras with this 12 megapixel sensor in them, they're absolutely amazing in low light. So unless you're in the really dark, you can get away with an f4 no problem. So if you're in, say, any lit scene in a bar, on a night, in a theme park, whatever it may be, you'll be fine with this. If you're in pitch black, yeah, it's probably not suitable. If you're in a really dark environment, you want probably an f2.5 or lower. So that's to bear in mind. But apart from that, there are really no downsides. It's quite heavy, is this lens. But that's its solid metal construction, which I actually like. The other thing I don't necessarily like about it is that actually it's a reverse zoom. So when it's at its widest, which you'll probably use it at probably the most often, or I do at least, it actually extends it a bit. I'd have preferred it so that was wide and that was the zoom version. It's not as sharp as the newer version, another reason to buy the newer version. But having said that, I think the Zeiss lenses have a beautiful sort of look and colour quality about them. It's very, very filmic, is this lens. I anticipate that this £450, 8-year-old second-hand lens, it's already really my favourite lens. I just love it, and I'm going to get the most use out of this than my other lenses, which have cost quite a bit more money. So in conclusion, if you want a good out and about walking lens that would do you say on vacation, on a vlog, something that's wide enough to take interiors, that's wide enough to take tight city scenes, city streets, something where you can zoom in a bit, something where you can use for portraits. And remember, on the ZVE1 and other Sony cameras, you've also got the clear image zoom as well, which, for those who don't know, that zooms in by 50% with no discernible loss in quality. So you can add 50% to the length of this lens, which is good as well, which makes it even more versatile. If you want that, look at trying getting this lens secondhand, because with the new power zoom coming out, same focal length, same aperture, this lens is now a real bargain on the secondhand market, and I could not recommend this lens highly enough for new ZVE1 or old ZVE1 owners. So thanks for watching. Hope you found the video useful. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again soon.